Self-care. When you hear that word, what type of feelings does it elicit for you? Let's have a conversation about self-care and what that looks like. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name's Fola, and here on Deep Mind Squared, we talk all things bridging mental wellness and spirituality for nurses. As I said in the beginning, this conversation today is going to be focused on self-care. And what does self-care look like? A lot of people hear that word or those words and they're like, don't bring it up. It is kind of overdone nowadays. So it's important that we really look at what that means for us as individuals and how we go about taking care of ourselves so that we can then ultimately, as nurses, take care of others. Before we get into all that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're updated on future video releases. And I'm so glad to have you here. Let us know in the comments before we get into it, what are your thoughts around that term self-care? I know for some people it does bring up a lot of negativity and heavy emotion, and people just seem to turn off their awareness when they hear that word and run the other way. There's something really important about us talking about self-care. And when we talk about these words, and when I say that, I really am focusing on the wellness aspect of one person looking out for themselves. It's funny, we're in the situation right now in the world where we're told to mask and it protects people, or get the vaccine and it protects people, and always told to take an action within our own self in order to look after everyone else. Some people might not like what I'm about to say, and so take it with a grain of salt. But I feel like that's just leading to more victim mentality. It's basically taking away our power for us, knowing that as individuals, we are responsible ultimately for our own emotions, our own well-being. We can't put that any of that weight on to someone else. That's being irresponsible, in my opinion. Obviously, we have the ability to show up responsibly, to support and care for people when we feel we can. But in order for us to do that, we need to make sure that our cup is full first. So when we talk about self-care, a lot of times employers within the healthcare system will say things like, take your breaks and make sure that you're using the employee assistance program to talk to a therapist, and they might have other forms of wellness tools and things that they provide to staff. But oftentimes what I notice is an employer just says, make sure you're doing the self-care, but doesn't really have an understanding of what that looks like because, say, for instance, the leadership, or those people who are giving the suggestions for self-care aren't actually taking care of themselves in the first place. So we need to take care of ourselves. We need to show up in the world the way we would like others to show up. And it's through that mirroring can then take place. So what are some self-care techniques that you use? For myself, it is a wide range, and I like to kind of add everything in from those four aspects of the human experience. I got my physical wellness. So for myself, it might be massage. I go sometimes for the chiro. There's certain things around my diet and eating patterns and just moving my body through exercise that I find really helpful. So that's one area to look at. I think there's so many things. I love floating and all these aspects. And it's interesting how that physical experience and the reality can also move into the other aspects, such as the mental, emotional, and the spiritual. And when I talk about those other pieces, for myself, when it comes to mental, emotional, and spiritual, I really like to have a nice blend of opportunities to experience, wellness. And that includes, for myself, talking with someone that I trust and that can hold space for me in a safe way, so that I can uncover the things that might be kind of bubbling under the surface, different emotions that are coming up, so that I don't hold them into my body, into my mind, and create more chaos later on. Another thing has been a strong spiritual, the shamanic practice. I really enjoy connecting through ceremony and ritual, and that helps me to really dive deeper into what certain things might be going on in my life and also in past lives, whether you believe in that or not, and it allows me to take care of me. Incorporated into a lot of that stuff, I find tapping into my creativity to be a very helpful and healing practice to take care of myself. So playing instruments, singing, dancing, and moving. Again, anything that really bridges like the physical, the mental, emotional, and the spiritual aspects. And helps me to take my mind off some of the chaos that is happening in the world and around and within sometimes, because let's be honest. So these are just some of the things that I enjoy using. And obviously this is probably an exhaustive list. The main thing I wanted to really come on here and just like really hone in to whoever's listening out there is the fact that you deserve to take care of yourself. And this is the main part around self-care. Again, you have to look after yourself. No one else is going to do that for you. No matter what any government or employer says that they have have your back or whatever the situation might be, it's like ultimately it is up to you. So stop giving your power away and start looking after yourself. If you can start to see that, hey, like I actually have the ability here to make the changes in my life, to look after myself, and trust that as you start to just at least open up and be curious about ways to do that, then those possibilities will come through. And I understand that right now with COVID, a lot of our life situation might be limited, right? You might not be able to go out, sign up for a lot of the things that you used to. But trust that there are so many endless ways in order for you to connect with people, to look after yourself, and to do things in your own home. And it's just about being creative around that. So even just asking yourself the question of what's one thing I can include into my day today that'll help me take care of myself? And you don't have to answer the question when you ask it. Just see what comes up in your day just because you've asked that and intended to receive a response. And that's how the universe operates. It's responding to our questions. Wherever you might be right now, whatever might be going on for you in terms of your physical wellness, I just really encourage you, if you are a nurse and you're working still in the healthcare system, or you're feeling that maybe things are just becoming super heavy and there's a lot of pressure on you to look after everyone else, check in with yourself to see how can you incorporate some of these self-care practices. And how can you start to maybe let go of some of the responsibilities in your life? Acknowledging that there might be some areas in your life that you can't let go of responsibility. I mean, we have dependents, children, other people that might really rely on us in our personal lives. See if you can find other means that you can let go of some of that responsibility, because I get it. Sometimes that feeds us, right? We find our worth within that place of caring and helping others. But if it's going to kill you, what good is that? Like, it's not good. It's not. It's not worth it. So really just checking in with yourself and what you need at this time. And remember that you're not alone. Everyone is doing the best they can. And I trust that you, dear watcher, listener of this video, are also doing the best that you can. And this is how we learn. This is how we grow. This is how we start to step more into our personal power and learning to set boundaries for ourselves so that we don't get our energy drained and just feeling completely depleted. Because I've been there and it's not great for the mind or the body or the soul. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like and share it with anyone you think might need to hear this message. And I look forward to seeing you in another video. Take care.